Welcome to long-form content of Tech Bytes and News. This is a compilation on latest news and articles featured on Hacker News. You can find the original links of articles in the description. Please like and subscribe to support future content. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating debate: Mark Zuckerberg's attempt to redefine open source, specifically in the context of AI. It's a hot topic, folks.
Absolutely. It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Zuckerberg, championing open source for PyTorch and React, now seemingly trying to bend the definition for his own AI projects. What's the core issue?
The crux is Meta's Llama AI model. While Zuckerberg publicly touts it as open source, experts disagree. They argue that Llama doesn't fully meet the Open Source Initiative's OSI criteria.
Right. I read that. It's not just about the code, is it? It's about the missing pieces, the training data and methodology. That's a huge part of the puzzle.
Exactly. Without that transparency, it's hard to truly call it open source. Plus, Llama has licensing restrictions. If you build something hugely successful using Llama, you might have to pay Meta. That's not the spirit of open source.
So it's a strategic move, not a genuine commitment to open source principles. It sounds like a clever way to sidestep the EU AI Act, which has exceptions for truly open source AI. Clever, but shady.
Precisely. Experts like Emily Omier and Stefano Maffulli from the OSI are calling it out. They emphasize that open source is a binary concept, not a spectrum. You either meet the OSI standards, or you don't. Maffulli even accused Zuckerberg of bullying the industry.
Wow. That's a strong accusation. But the financial incentives are massive, aren't they? Avoiding the EU AI Act's regulations could save Meta a fortune.
Undeniably. Hundreds of millions, possibly billions of dollars. That's a powerful motivator to redefine the very meaning of open source. It's a bold strategy, but it raises serious questions about ethical implications.
It certainly does. It's a fascinating case study in the intersection of technology, business, and regulation. It highlights the need for clear, unambiguous definitions in the rapidly evolving world of AI, and the potential for abuse of terminology.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that while open source is a powerful force for innovation, it's not immune to manipulation. We need to be vigilant and ensure that the principles of openness and collaboration aren't compromised for corporate gain. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating paper on natural nuclear fission reactors in Gabon. It's mind-blowing stuff, really. The Oklo and Bangombe deposits, specifically, two unique places on Earth where natural nuclear reactors actually operated billions of years ago.
Wow, natural nuclear reactors? That sounds incredible. So what makes these sites so special? I mean, how did that even happen?
Right. It's all about the right conditions. The Franceville Basin in Gabon had a high concentration of uranium, 235, much higher than we see today. Remember, U-235 is the fissile isotope needed for nuclear reactions. Plus, the geological conditions were just right. Sufficient water to act as a moderator, and the right temperature and pressure to sustain a chain reaction. It was a critical event in a geologic system, as the paper puts it.
So essentially, a naturally occurring nuclear power plant? Amazing! But how long did these reactors operate?
The paper focuses on the migration of actinides and fission products, which helps us understand the reactor's history. They were active for a considerable period, over 2 billion years ago, and the study highlights two main migration periods. One during the initial criticality at around 400 to 500 degrees Celsius and 300 bars, and another much later due to a geological distension event.
A distension event? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a significant point. About 800 to 900 million years ago, the Franceville Basin underwent a period of geological stress and fracturing, leading to the intrusion of dolerite dikes near the reactor zones. This significantly impacted the migration of the fission products.
So, the initial reactor activity and the later geological event both influenced the distribution of the fission products? What about the retention of these products? Where did they end up?
Exactly. The study delves into that. The UO2 matrix, the uranium dioxide, was surprisingly effective at retaining many actinides and fission products, like rare earth elements, yttrium, and zirconium, but not all of them. Volatile elements like cadmium, cesium, xenon, and krypton escaped, as did rubidium, strontium, and barium.
Interesting. So some elements were more mobile than others. What about the role of other minerals?
That's a key part of the research. The paper suggests that clays and phosphate minerals also played a role in retaining some fission products, particularly rare earth elements and even plutonium. It's a complex interplay of factors influencing the final distribution.
This is truly fascinating. It's almost like a natural experiment in nuclear waste disposal, showing us how some elements are retained over geological timescales. I wonder if this research has implications for current nuclear waste management strategies.
Absolutely. Understanding the long-term behavior of fission products in these natural reactors is incredibly valuable. It provides insights into potential long-term storage solutions for our own nuclear waste. The paper mentions similarities between the metallic and oxide inclusions in the Oklo UO2 and those found in artificial spent fuel, which is a very important observation.
I see. So this research isn't just about understanding a geological curiosity, it has real-world applications. It's amazing how much we can learn from studying these ancient natural reactors.
Precisely. This research highlights the power of interdisciplinary science, combining geology, chemistry, nuclear physics, and more to unravel a truly remarkable natural phenomenon. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating article about motion sickness accessibility in video games. It's a surprisingly prevalent issue, affecting up to a third of players, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just a minor inconvenience. It can range from mild discomfort to debilitating nausea, completely ruining the gaming experience. I'm eager to hear what the article suggests as solutions.
The core problem, as the article explains, is a sensory mismatch. Your eyes see movement on screen, but your inner ear, your vestibular system, doesn't feel it. This conflict triggers the sickness. It's like your brain's getting conflicting reports.
So it's not just about the intensity of the movement, but the discrepancy between visual and physical sensation? That's a really interesting point. And the from. I hadn't thought of it that way before.
Exactly. And it's not equally distributed. Women are disproportionately affected, especially around menstruation or pregnancy. The article even suggests this impacts game choices for women. Kids are also more susceptible.
Wow, that's a significant demographic consideration for game developers. It highlights the need for inclusive design from the start.
Precisely. The article points out specific game elements that trigger motion sickness, FOV. Screen shake, motion blur, repeated textures, even frame rate, although that one seems more individual. 30 to 40 FPS seems to be a sweet spot for some, but it varies wildly.
Interesting. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And VR adds another layer of complexity, with head tracking and locomotion methods becoming crucial factors.
Absolutely. The article strongly advocates for in-game accessibility options, especially on consoles where modding isn't always an option. FOV sliders, FPS targets, disabling motion bobbing. These are essential first steps.
But what about things like repeated textures? That seems like a more fundamental design choice, not easily adjustable through options.
That's a great point. The article mentions that's less of a problem now, but it used to be a huge issue. It highlights the importance of considering accessibility during the prototyping phase, not just as an afterthought.
I see. Proactive design is key. The article also touches on the pushback against accessibility options, with some claiming they provide an unfair advantage in competitive games.
Yeah, that's a complex issue. The article suggests that if a feature is perceived as an obstacle that everyone would prefer to remove, then maybe it's a design flaw, not a problem with the accessibility option. It's a matter of balancing accommodations with core gameplay.
Right, it's about thoughtful design, not just adding options for the sake of it. The article concludes by emphasizing the need for a more holistic approach to accessibility, making it a core part of game development from the very beginning.
Exactly. It's not just about adding a few sliders. It's about creating a truly inclusive gaming experience. And that's something we should all strive for. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating piece from Tom's Hardware about Huawei's Ascend 910C and its surprising performance in AI inference. Get ready!
Ooh, exciting. 60% of the NVIDIA H100's inference performance? That's a bold claim. What's the basis for this?
Right. It's all based on research from DeepSeek. They've benchmarked the Ascend 910C, an older Huawei chip, and found it surprisingly competitive in inference tasks. Think of it. A chip from 2019 holding its own against a current top-tier NVIDIA card.
That's unexpected. I mean, the H100 is a powerhouse. What kind of optimizations were involved?
DeepSeek did some manual tweaking of CUNN kernels, which are essentially the core computational units. Plus, they have native support for Ascend processors, making the transition from CUDA, NVIDIA's platform, to CUNN, Huawei's, pretty smooth. It's all about leveraging existing tools effectively.
So it's not just raw hardware power, but also clever software optimization that's contributing to this performance? Interesting.
Exactly. And that's a crucial point. The article highlights that while the Ascend 910C isn't a training champion, NVIDIA still reigns supreme there. Its inference capabilities are surprisingly strong. This could significantly reduce China's reliance on NVIDIA GPUs, especially considering the ongoing geopolitical tensions.
Yeah, that's a big deal. But the article also mentions some limitations, right? Something about long-term training reliability?
You got it. DeepSeek points out that the long-term stability of Chinese processors for training tasks is still a weakness. NVIDIA's ecosystem, built over 2 decades, is hard to beat in that area. It's a matter of mature software and hardware integration.
So a win for Huawei in inference, but NVIDIA still holds the crown for training. Makes sense. But what about the future? Will this gap close?
That's the million-dollar question. Some experts believe that as AI models increasingly rely on transformer architectures, the importance of NVIDIA's software ecosystem might diminish. If that happens, Huawei's optimization expertise could become even more valuable. But they still need to improve the training stability.
Right, the training stability is key. It's not just about peak performance. It's about consistent, reliable performance over extended periods. That's where NVIDIA currently shines.
Precisely. And that's why this DeepSeek research is so significant. It shows that even with limitations, Huawei is making strides in AI hardware, and that's something to watch closely. The geopolitical implications are huge too.
Absolutely. This is a really interesting development in the AI hardware landscape. Thanks for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Join us tomorrow for more exciting tech discussions. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating theory, the Michael Scott theory of social class. It's a wild ride, so buckle up.
I'm already intrigued. Is this about applying the dynamics of the office to real-world social structures?
Exactly. The core idea, boldly proposed by Alex Danko, is that the higher you climb the educated gentry ladder, that upper middle class, the more you resemble Michael Scott.
Whoa, that's a strong claim. But how does it work? Is it just about being clueless?
It's more nuanced than just cluelessness. It builds on Venkatesh Rao's Gervais principle, which categorizes workplace dynamics into 3 layers: losers, clueless, and sociopaths. Think Stanley, Michael, and David Wallace in The Office.
I see. So Michael represents the clueless middle management. But how does that translate to social class?
Danko maps these layers onto social classes. The losers are the working class, striving for financial security. The sociopaths are the elite, focused on power and leverage. And the clueless, the middle managers, become the educated gentry.
Okay, I'm following. But why Michael Scott? What's the connection?
The key is the language. Rao identifies different communication styles: posture talk, meaningless performative babble; baby talk, placating language; power talk, competitive, elite speak; game talk, working class rituals; and straight talk, rare, direct communication.
So Michael's posture talk is the hallmark of the educated gentry? That's a pretty interesting parallel.
Precisely. As you ascend the educated gentry ladder, you're surrounded by posture talk and baby talk, the constant validation seeking, the performative displays of virtue signaling. It all mirrors Michael's behavior. The obsession with being seen as serious, even if it's about something trivial.
So the more you're surrounded by this kind of language, the more you internalize it and become more like Michael? That's a compelling feedback loop.
Exactly. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. The article gives examples. Farmers market banter, academia banter, even blue checkmark Twitter, all forms of posture talk, designed to reinforce a sense of belonging and importance within that specific social circle.
But isn't this a bit of a caricature? Are all members of the educated gentry just like Michael Scott?
Well, it's a provocative theory, not a definitive statement. It's more about highlighting a trend, a tendency towards performative behavior and detachment from broader realities. It's a satirical lens through which to examine certain aspects of upper middle class culture.
I see. So it's less about literal resemblance to Michael Scott and more about the underlying dynamics of language and social interaction within that specific social class. It's a clever use of analogy.
Precisely. It's a thought-provoking analysis of social dynamics, using the familiar framework of The Office to make a complex idea more accessible and engaging, and that's why it's such a compelling read.
Absolutely. It's a fun yet insightful way to look at social class. Thanks for breaking it down.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into OMNIHUMAN1, a groundbreaking new model for generating incredibly realistic human videos. It's seriously impressive.
I've seen the buzz. So what's the core innovation behind OMNIHUMAN1? Is it just another video generation model, or is there something truly unique?
Oh, it's far from just another model. The key is its multimodality conditioning. It can generate videos from a single image and motion signals, audio only, video only, or a combination. Think about that. You feed it a picture and an audio clip, and it creates a realistic video of that person speaking?
That's amazing. But how does it overcome the usual data limitations in this field? High-quality data sets for training these models are notoriously scarce, right?
Exactly. That's where their mixed training strategy comes in. By mixing different conditioning signals during training, they effectively scale up their data, allowing the model to learn from a wider variety of inputs. It's a clever workaround for the data scarcity problem.
So it's not just about the quality of the individual inputs, but also the diversity of the training data itself? That's a really smart approach.
Precisely. And the results are stunning. They're generating videos that are incredibly realistic, especially when driven by audio. The motion, lighting, texture details, it's all incredibly lifelike. And it works with images of any aspect ratio. Portraits, half-body, full-body, all in one model.
I see. That's quite a feat. But does it handle different styles equally well? What about, say, cartoons or even animals?
That's a great question. And yes, it does. The paper shows examples with cartoons, artificial objects, even animals. The model adapts its motion characteristics to match the unique features of each style. It's incredibly versatile.
Wow, that's truly impressive. So it's not just limited to realistic human depictions, it's a much more general-purpose animation model then?
Exactly. And it even handles challenging poses and different singing styles. High-pitched songs, different body movements for different music types. It's all there. But remember, the quality of the output heavily depends on the input image quality. Using a high-resolution image will yield better results.
Makes sense. So what about ethical considerations? This technology has huge potential, but also potential for misuse, right?
Absolutely. The researchers acknowledge this and state that all the images and audio used in their demos are from public sources or generated by models. They've also provided contact information for anyone with concerns. Responsible development is key here.
Definitely. It's great that they're addressing these ethical concerns proactively. So where can we find out more or even try it out?
Unfortunately, they don't offer downloads or services yet. They're still in the research phase, but they promise timely updates on future developments. Keep an eye on their GitHub page for the latest news.
Sounds good. This OMNIHUMAN1 is a significant advancement in the field of human animation. Thanks for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into a fascinating historical artifact, a 1979 IBM internal training document proclaiming, "A computer can never be held accountable. Therefore, a computer must never make a management decision." It's incredibly prescient, isn't it?
Incredibly. It's almost eerie how relevant this statement remains in our current age of rapidly advancing AI. What's the story behind this document? How did it even surface?
That's the really interesting part. The original source is, sadly, lost. It was apparently discovered by someone sifting through their father's old work papers, only to be destroyed in a flood a few years later. Even IBM's corporate archives haven't been able to locate it. Think of all the lost knowledge.
That's a real shame, a lost piece of tech history. So we only have the image itself to go on, right? The stark simplicity of the statement is striking. It's almost a philosophical argument, not just a technical one.
Exactly. The image's power lies in its brevity. It forces us to confront the fundamental limitations of machines in the context of responsibility and decision-making. It's not just about technical capabilities. It's about ethics and accountability. The implications are huge, especially now with AI systems making increasingly complex decisions.
Absolutely. It raises questions about liability. If an AI makes a bad decision with significant consequences, who is responsible? The programmers? The company deploying it? The statement from 1979 seems to anticipate these very issues. It's a powerful warning, really.
I see your point. It's a warning that's even more relevant today. The original tweet sharing the image dates back to 2017, long before the current AI boom. It's almost like someone from the past was sending a message to the future. A chilling thought, isn't it?
It is. And the fact that the original document is lost makes it even more mysterious and poignant. It highlights the ephemeral nature of information, especially in the corporate world. It's a reminder that even seemingly insignificant internal documents can hold profound insights.
Precisely. This isn't just a lost document. It's a lost opportunity. An opportunity to learn from the wisdom of those who came before us. The fact that IBM's archives couldn't find it underscores the challenges of preserving corporate history. It's a call to action, I think, to better preserve these kinds of documents for future generations.
I completely agree. It's a powerful reminder of the importance of ethical considerations in technological development. The statement itself is a simple yet profound ethical guideline that remains incredibly relevant today. We should all take note.
Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion as thought-provoking as we did. Remember to subscribe and join us next time for more insightful tech news and analysis. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into a fascinating controversy swirling around the upcoming Fantastic Four First Steps movie, specifically the alleged use of AI in creating one of its posters. Intriguing, right?
Absolutely. So what's the gist? Did Marvel actually use AI? Or is this just another internet storm in a teacup?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The buzz started because some eagle-eyed fans spotted what they believed to be telltale signs of AI generation in one of the posters. Apparently, some inconsistencies and anomalies raised eyebrows.
I see. Like what kind of inconsistencies? Were we talking about wonky anatomy or something more subtle?
It's not explicitly stated in the article, but it implies things like unusual proportions or textures that didn't quite seem natural. The kind of things that often slip through the cracks with AI-generated images. But here's the kicker. Marvel has officially denied using AI to create the poster.
Interesting. So it's a he said, she said situation? Is there any independent verification or analysis of the poster to support either side?
Not in this CNN article, no. They mention that CNN reached out to Marvel for comment, but the article doesn't include a response from Marvel beyond the initial denial. Well, pretty circumstantial, really.
So the article also mentions another recent AI controversy, right? The one with The Brutalist? How does that relate?
Yeah, that's a great point. The Brutalist used AI, but in a very different way. Instead of generating the entire poster, they used AI to refine the Hungarian dialogue of the actors, ensuring accurate pronunciation. The director was very clear about this, emphasizing that the actors' performances remained entirely their own.
That's a much more nuanced use of AUI, isn't it? It's almost like a sophisticated tool for post-production, rather than a replacement for artistic creation. It makes the Fantastic Four situation seem even more ambiguous.
Exactly. It highlights the different ways AI can be integrated into filmmaking, and the varying levels of transparency and ethical considerations involved. The Fantastic Four situation is more about the potential for AI to be used without disclosure, while the Brutalist case is about using AI to enhance, not replace, human artistry. It's a subtle but important distinction.
So, what's the takeaway here? Should we be worried about AI secretly infiltrating movie posters, or is this just a storm in a teacup?
I think it's too early to say definitively. This incident certainly raises questions about transparency and the potential for AI to be used deceptively in the film industry. But until we have more concrete evidence, it remains speculation. The Fantastic Four poster controversy serves as a reminder of the ongoing debate surrounding AI's role in creative fields. It's a conversation we'll likely be having for a long time to come.
Absolutely. Thanks for breaking this down for us. A fascinating look at the evolving relationship between AI and the entertainment industry.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating case from the FCC involving a hefty fine and a sophisticated robocall scheme. It's a wild ride.
A $4.5 million fine? Wow. What's the story behind this?
So, the FCC, under Chairman Carr, just proposed this massive fine against Telnix. Apparently, they allowed a bunch of robocalls impersonating the FCC's fraud prevention team, a team that doesn't actually exist.
That's incredibly brazen. How did they pull it off?
Seems like a failure on Telnix's part to properly vet their customers. They didn't do their due diligence in verifying the identity of the customer who launched these scam calls. The calls targeted FCC staff and their families, demanding Google Play gift cards to avoid jail time. Can you believe it?
Absolutely unbelievable. So Telnix essentially provided the platform for this fraud?
Exactly. The FCC's argument is that Telnix, as a voice service provider, has a responsibility to know its customers and secure its network. They failed to prevent malicious actors from using their service to launch these illegal calls. It's a violation of their Know Your Customer requirements.
I see. So, this $4.5 million fine is a proposed penalty, right? It's not final yet?
That's correct. It's a Notice of Apparent Liability for Forfeiture, or NAL. Telnix will have a chance to respond and present their case before the FCC makes a final decision. But the maximum fine they could face is the amount proposed in the NAL.
This whole thing highlights a serious issue with robocalls and the need for stronger regulations, doesn't it? It's not just annoying, it's outright criminal.
Absolutely. This case underscores the importance of robust, know your customer policies for all voice service providers. It's a crucial step in preventing these kinds of scams from happening in the first place. It's a big win for consumer protection, if the fine sticks.
It certainly is. And the fact that it's a bipartisan vote makes it even more significant. It shows there's a united front against this kind of illegal activity.
Precisely. Chairman Carr emphasized that cracking down on illegal robocalls is a top priority. This action sends a strong message to other providers. You need to take this seriously. This isn't just about fines. It's about protecting consumers from fraud and harassment.
It's a really important point. The emotional distress caused by these calls shouldn't be underestimated. The fact that they targeted FCC staff and their families is particularly disturbing.
You're right. It's a chilling reminder of how far these scammers will go, and the audacity of impersonating a government agency. It's just shocking.
This whole situation is a fascinating case study in cybersecurity and regulatory enforcement. It'll be interesting to see how Telnix responds and what the final outcome will be.
Absolutely. We'll be keeping a close eye on this one. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bites and News. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating archaeological discovery near Corral, Peru. A hidden pyramid, just a kilometer away from the already famous city.
Wow, that's exciting. So what exactly did they find? Was it a completely unexpected discovery?
Absolutely. It was a pyramidal structure, cleverly concealed beneath vegetation. The team, led by the renowned archaeologist Ruth Shady, uncovered at least 3 overlapping platforms, suggesting a ceremonial or administrative function.
3 overlapping platforms? That sounds significant. What else makes this pyramid special?
Well, the huancas, those imposing vertical stones marking the corners and the central staircase, are very characteristic of Corral's monumental architecture. It really reinforces the importance of this settlement within the broader urban planning of the time.
I see. So it's not just the pyramid itself, but its architectural style that's important?
Exactly. And that's not all. Next to the pyramid, they found a massive geoglyph, a profile head, about 62 meters by 30 meters.
A geoglyph? That's incredible. What's its significance?
It's in the style of the Sechin culture from Peru's northern coast, and its orientation suggests a possible ritual or even astronomical significance. More importantly, it links Corral to other ancient Alendean civilizations, showing cultural exchange much earlier than we thought.
So this discovery challenges previous assumptions about the connections between these ancient cultures? That's a huge deal.
Precisely. It's a game changer. The whole Chupachigaro settlement, where the pyramid is located, is part of a vast network of urban centers flourishing between 3000 and 1800 BCE. It was strategically located, allowing connections with coastal populations and access to resources.
This is all so fascinating. It paints a picture of a highly organized and sophisticated society, right?
Absolutely. The settlement itself spans thousands of hectares and includes numerous public and ceremonial structures. Residential zones show a highly organized society, both socially and economically. And the fact that they achieved this without resorting to warfare is truly remarkable.
It really is. This discovery is not only scientifically important, but also has huge implications for tourism in Peru, I imagine.
You're spot on. The pyramid and geoglyph are set to become major attractions, enriching Peru's cultural identity and contributing to the preservation of the oldest civilization in the Americas. It's a win-win situation.
It certainly is. This is a truly remarkable discovery, and it highlights the ongoing importance of archaeological research in revealing the complexities of our past.
Indeed. And with each new discovery, we learn more about these incredible ancient societies. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of archaeology. Goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating guide on scaling large language models, specifically focusing on the challenges and strategies involved in maximizing performance on massive hardware setups. It's all about getting the most bang for your buck, or rather, the most flops per dollar.
Exactly. I'm particularly excited about this because, scaling isn't just about throwing more hardware at the problem. It's about understanding the intricate interplay between hardware and algorithms. It's a real co-design challenge, right?
Absolutely. The guide emphasizes that even seemingly small improvements in efficiency can have a huge impact when you're dealing with the scale of LLMs. A 20% gain in benchmarks is meaningless if it comes at a 20% loss in roofline efficiency. It's all about strong scaling, achieving a linear increase in throughput with a linear increase in hardware.
That's a crucial point, and it's not just about compute either. The guide highlights the importance of understanding memory bandwidth and latency, especially inter-chip communication. We can easily become communication bound, right? The communication overhead can easily outweigh the gains from adding more chips.
Precisely. The guide breaks down the different parallelism schemes: data, tensor, pipeline, and expert parallelism, and how to choose the best one for a given hardware setup. It also delves into techniques like rematerialization and zero to reduce memory requirements. It's a very practical guide.
I see. And it's not just about the parallelism schemes. The guide also emphasizes the importance of understanding the transformer architecture itself, the sizes of matrices, where normalization happens, and the FLOP counts for both training and inference. It's about getting down to the nitty-gritty details.
You're spot on. They even provide a detailed walkthrough of the transformer math, showing how to calculate parameters and FLOPs. This is crucial for estimating memory usage and predicting compute and communication times. It's like, getting under the hood of the transformer engine.
It's fascinating how they connect this detailed understanding of the architecture to practical applications. They use LMA-3 as a case study, showing how to estimate training and inference costs and times on TPUs. This is where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
Absolutely. And they don't stop there. The guide also covers profiling and debugging techniques using JX and TensorBoard. It's a comprehensive resource, covering everything from theoretical foundations to practical implementation details. It's a must-read for anyone serious about scaling LLMs.
I agree. The emphasis on roofline analysis is particularly insightful. Understanding the limitations imposed by compute, communication, and memory is fundamental to efficient scaling. It's about finding the sweet spot where you're not bottlenecked by any one of these factors.
Exactly. And the guide's structure is really well thought out. It starts with the fundamentals, gradually building up to more advanced concepts and practical applications. It's a great resource for both researchers and engineers. It's a very well-structured and practical guide. I highly recommend checking it out.
I couldn't agree more. It's a valuable contribution to the field, bridging the gap between theoretical understanding and practical implementation. It's a game changer, really.
Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into the world of 3D printing businesses, specifically addressing a common misconception highlighted in a YouTube video. It's all about asking the right questions, you see. Exciting stuff.
I'm eager to hear this. What's the core problem this video addresses? Is it a matter of market research or something more fundamental?
Precisely. The video argues that many aspiring 3D printing entrepreneurs focus on the wrong questions. Instead of asking, what can I print? They should be asking, what problem can I solve with 3D printing? Quote, it's a subtle but crucial shift in perspective, a game changer.
I see. So it's less about the technology itself and more about the market need. It's about identifying a niche, right? Like, instead of just printing figurines, maybe focusing on custom medical prosthetics or highly specialized prototypes?
Exactly. The video emphasizes the importance of identifying a specific problem and then using 3D printing as a solution. It's about finding a market that values the unique capabilities of 3D printing. Things like rapid prototyping, customization, or on-demand manufacturing. It's not just about the what, it's about the why.
But isn't there a risk in hyper-focusing on a niche? What if that niche shrinks or disappears? Shouldn't there be some diversification strategy?
That's a valid concern. The video doesn't explicitly address diversification, but I think the underlying principle still applies. Even within a niche, you can identify multiple problems to solve. The key is to understand the value proposition you're offering, not just the technology you're using. It's about building a sustainable business model, not just a cool 3D printing project.
Right, so it's about market validation and understanding the customer's needs before investing heavily in equipment and marketing. It's about building a business plan around a real problem, not just a cool technology. Makes perfect sense.
Precisely. The video highlights the importance of market research and understanding your target audience. It's about finding a problem that resonates with a specific group of people, and then using 3D printing to offer a unique and valuable solution. It's a more sustainable approach to building a successful business.
So in essence, the video advocates for a problem-solution approach rather than a technology-driven one. It's about finding a need and filling it with 3D printing, rather than just printing whatever you can. A very important distinction.
Absolutely. It's about leveraging the unique capabilities of 3D printing to solve real-world problems and create a sustainable business. And that's a message worth repeating. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you found this discussion insightful. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into January's best science images, as featured in Nature magazine. A real feast for the eyes and mind, I tell you. Let's get started.
I'm buzzing. What incredible scientific visuals are we talking about? I'm particularly keen to hear about the microscopy work.
Absolutely. We've got a stunning aurora borealis shot, a captivating video of mitochondria in action. Wait till you see this. And even a look at the aftermath of devastating Los Angeles fires. But let's start with those mitochondria. It's a confocal microscopy video of a human bone cancer cell, showing its nuclei, actin cytoskeleton, and, most importantly, a dynamic network of mitochondria in yellow.
Wow, a video! I always pictured mitochondria as those simple bean shapes from textbooks. So what's the big reveal?
Exactly. The cell biologist, Dylan Burnett, points out that the bean shape is a simplification. The video shows a far more complex and dynamic network. It's a whole new perspective. He argues that the static, two-dimensional images from thin slices don't capture the true three-dimensional movement and interactions.
Fascinating. So it's not just about the shape, but the activity and interactions within the cell? That's a significant shift in understanding.
Precisely. It highlights how static images can sometimes mislead us. Think of it like this. A still photo of a flock of birds doesn't show their flight patterns. The video gives us the full story. Moving on, we also have a report on over 700 new species discovered in the Congo Basin.
Incredible biodiversity. What kind of species are we talking about?
Everything from an electric blue damsel frelii to a nocturnal frog and a crocodile. The WWF is calling for stronger conservation efforts, emphasizing that the Congo Basin remains one of the least researched areas on the planet. It's a stark reminder of the urgent need for conservation.
Absolutely. And then there's the stunning Andromeda Galaxy image, a mosaic of over 600 images from the Hubble. That's dedication.
You're right. A decade of work to capture that level of detail. It's amazing to see the different colors of stars, highlighting the age variations across the galaxy. It's almost like a cosmic time-lapse. We also have images from the devastating Los Angeles fires, a stark contrast to the beauty of space, a sobering reminder of the challenges we face on Earth.
A powerful juxtaposition, indeed. From the vastness of space to the devastation on our planet, it really puts things into perspective.
Exactly. And let's not forget the discovery of hundreds of dinosaur footprints in Oxfordshire. A Jurassic highway. Scientists hope to learn more about how these creatures moved and interacted. It's like a prehistoric puzzle waiting to be solved.
Amazing! And finally, the Roman bathhouse unearthed in Pompeii. Talk about a spa day.
A luxurious spa day indeed, complete with frescoes and a plunge pool. It's a fascinating glimpse into the lives of Pompeii's wealthy inhabitants. And to wrap up, we even have a heartwarming story of Berlin zoo animals enjoying their Christmas trees. A festive treat for everyone.
What a diverse and captivating collection of images. A truly remarkable month for science.
Absolutely. From the microscopic world to the vastness of space and everything in between. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a truly remarkable discovery. The Dolny Vestanese portrait head, the oldest known human portrait in the world.
Wow, that sounds incredible. 26,000 years old? What makes it so significant? Is it just the age, or is there more to it?
Oh, it's far more than just the age. It's a tiny, meticulously carved mammoth ivory head, only about 1.9 inches tall. But the detail is astonishing. Think about it. This is a portrait, a representation of a specific individual from the Upper Paleolithic period.
Right, individualized. That's what sets it apart from other artifacts of the time, like the Venus of Vestanise, right? Those are more abstract representations, not portraits of specific people.
Exactly. The Dolny Vestanise head shows engraved eyes, a dimpled chin, a raised nose and mouth. Even a possible updo or hat. It's a level of artistic skill and attention to detail that's just mind-blowing for that era.
So where was this found? And what else do we know about the context of its creation?
It was discovered in Dolní Věstonice, in the Czech Republic, a site sometimes called the Stone Age Pompeii because of the sheer number of artifacts found there. Tens of thousands of ceramics, stone tools, bone objects, even burials. It's a treasure trove of information about life during that period.
Amazing! Was there anything else found near the portrait head that might give us clues about its purpose or the person it depicts?
Yes. In 1949, they found a middle-aged woman's skeleton nearby covered in red ochre and fox teeth. And get this. In 2018, researchers used forensic techniques to reconstruct her face from the skull, and it bore a striking resemblance to the ivory carving, especially the asymmetry of her eyes.
Whoa! That's incredible! So it's possible this is a portrait of that actual woman? That's a pretty amazing connection.
It's certainly a strong possibility, although we can't say for sure. But the fact that we even have this level of detail, this potential link between artifact and individual, is remarkable. It really changes our understanding of artistic expression and social practices in the Upper Paleolithic.
I see. So this isn't just an artistic achievement. It's a window into the lives and beliefs of people living 26,000 years ago. It's a powerful reminder of how sophisticated and complex those societies were.
Precisely. And it's not just the age. It's the fact that it's a portrait, a personal representation, that makes it so unique. It challenges our assumptions about the capabilities and cultural practices of early humans. It's a truly remarkable piece of history.
Absolutely. It's fascinating to think about the skill and artistry involved, and the insights it provides into the past. Thanks for sharing this incredible story.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Join us tomorrow for more fascinating discoveries. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating collaboration on cybersecurity, a joint publication focusing on mitigation strategies for edge devices. It's a big deal, folks.
Absolutely. Edge devices are everywhere, from industrial control systems to smart home gadgets. Securing them is paramount, but it's a complex challenge. What's the core message of these publications?
The core message is simple, yet crucial. Prioritize edge device security. These aren't just 3 reports. They're a coordinated effort from the NSA, the Australian Cybersecurity Centre, the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, and many others. Think of it as a global cybersecurity task force tackling a critical vulnerability.
A global effort, you say? That's impressive. So what specific strategies are they recommending? I'm particularly interested in the practical advice.
Right, so there are 3 publications. One is Executive Guidance, focusing on high-level strategies for large organizations. Another is for practitioners, providing more detailed, tactical advice. And the third delves into the specific security considerations for edge device manufacturers. It's a comprehensive approach.
I see. And what are some of those key strategies? Give me the highlights.
Absolutely. For starters, you need to know your edge. Understand what devices you have, where they are, and what they do. Then, procure secure-by-design devices. Don't just buy the cheapest option. Invest in devices with strong security features built in. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't skimp on the foundation, would you?
That's a great analogy. So after procurement, what's next?
Next, you need to apply hardening guidance, updates, and patches. Keep your software up to date. This is crucial to patching vulnerabilities before malicious actors can exploit them. Then, implement strong authentication. Think multi-factor authentication. Strong passwords. The works. Disable unneeded features and ports to reduce your attack surface. It's like locking all the doors and windows in your house.
Makes perfect sense. And what about the management interfaces? I've heard that's a weak point for many devices.
Precisely. You need to secure your management interfaces. These are often overlooked, but they're critical. Finally, centralize monitoring for threat detection. You need a system in place to detect and respond to threats quickly. It's like having a security system with alarms and monitoring.
I have a question. While these strategies are excellent, isn't the responsibility also on the manufacturers to build more secure devices from the ground up? Shouldn't they be held accountable?
You're absolutely right. That's where the third publication comes in. It specifically addresses recommendations for edge device manufacturers to improve the built-in and default security of their products. It's a shared responsibility for them. The manufacturers need to build secure devices, and organizations need to properly secure and manage them. It's a two-pronged approach.
That's a crucial point. So in essence, these publications provide a holistic approach to edge device security, covering everything from high-level strategy to practical implementation and manufacturer responsibilities. It's a comprehensive and much-needed resource.
Exactly. These publications are a significant step towards improving the overall security posture of our increasingly interconnected world. They offer a clear path forward, emphasizing the importance of collaboration and proactive security measures. And that's a wrap for today's Tech Bytes and News. Thanks for tuning in, and remember to stay safe online.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a fascinating piece from Gizmodo about Elon Musk, USAID, and a Starlink investigation. It's a wild ride, folks.
Oh boy, here we go again with Elon. What's the gist? Is he in trouble again?
In a nutshell, USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, was investigating Starlink's contracts in Ukraine. This was happening concurrently with Musk's, shall we say, spirited attacks on the agency. Talk about awkward timing.
So USAID was looking into Starlink's operations in Ukraine, and at the same time Musk was publicly bashing them? That's rich. What was the investigation about?
Exactly. The investigation focused on how Ukraine used the USAID-provided Starlink terminals and how USAID monitored that use. A pretty standard oversight procedure, you'd think. But given the context
of Musk calling USAID evil and a criminal organization, it certainly raises eyebrows. Was there any indication of wrongdoing on Starlink's part?
The article doesn't explicitly state that. It just highlights the incredibly strange timing. The fact that the investigation was underway while Musk was launching his attacks makes you wonder if there's more to the story. Maybe he was trying to deflect attention?
That's a very plausible theory. It's classic Musk preemptive strike to discredit any potential findings. But the article mentions something else, right? Something about DOGE?
Yes. Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOG, has been causing a lot of trouble. The article suggests DOG's actions might be illegal, with several federal agencies raising concerns. There are even lawsuits involved.
Wow. So not only is there this weird Starlink USAID situation, but Musk's own DOGE is facing potential legal ramifications? This is getting messy. What kind of lawsuits are we talking about?
One lawsuit involves union groups representing federal workers, alleging DOGE violated federal privacy laws by accessing sensitive systems. It's a pretty serious accusation, and the article mentions DOG is staffed by a bunch of young people, which adds another layer of concern.
Kids playing with fire, essentially. And all this is happening against the backdrop of a long and controversial history of USAID itself. The article mentions accusations of being a CIA front and past scandals. It's a whole tangled web.
Precisely. It's a complex situation with multiple layers. Musk's attacks on USAID, the Starlink investigation, the DOG lawsuits. It all paints a picture of a very turbulent period. And the article even points out the irony of Musk, who the New York Times reported works for the deep state, railing against the deep state. It's something.
It's certainly a lot to unpack. The whole thing feels like a high-stakes game of chess, with plenty of room for speculation. Thanks for breaking it down for us.
You're very welcome. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bytes and News. Join us tomorrow for more of the latest tech and news. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into Paul Graham's provocative 2007 essay, Microsoft is Dead. A bold claim, right? Right?
Absolutely. It's fascinating to revisit this piece, considering how much the tech landscape has shifted since then. What's the core argument, in a nutshell?
Essentially, Graham argues that by 2005, Microsoft, despite its massive profits, had ceased to be a significant threat. He claims their dominance, which cast a long shadow over the software world for nearly 2 decades, had vanished. Poof! Gone.
Interesting. He uses a really striking analogy, comparing Microsoft to Barry Manilow in the mid-'80s, a reference lost on a younger generation of tech founders. That really highlights the shift in power.
Exactly. The younger generation simply didn't understand the fear Microsoft once inspired. Wraith. Graham identifies 4 key factors contributing to Microsoft's decline: Google's rise, the shift to web-based applications, the advent of broadband internet, and Apple's resurgence with OS X.
So Google was the big disruptor, right? But it wasn't just Google's search dominance, was it? Gmail played a huge role, showcasing the potential of web-based software and Ajax.
Precisely. Gmail demonstrated the power of Ajax, a technology ironically partly developed by Microsoft itself. They created XML HTTP request, but failed to fully grasp its transformative potential. Clever, huh?
It's ironic. And the widespread adoption of broadband made the shift to web apps even more compelling. Less reliance on the desktop meant less reliance on Microsoft's operating system.
Absolutely. And then there's Apple. Their comeback with OS X was a game changer. Suddenly, the cool kids weren't using Windows anymore. Macs became the preferred choice for developers and tech-savvy individuals. A complete turnaround.
It's almost poetic, isn't it? The company that once dominated the desktop market is now seen as, well, outdated. Graham even suggests a way Microsoft could have fought back, buying up all the promising Web 2.0 startups. A bit of a fantasy, though.
A pipe dream. He points out that Microsoft's biggest weakness was its inability to recognize its own shortcomings. They were still clinging to the desktop model, even as the world moved on. They couldn't adapt.
And that's a valuable lesson, even today. Adaptability and recognizing shifts in the market are crucial for survival in the tech world. It's a reminder that even the biggest giants can fall.
Exactly. Graham's essay, while written over a decade ago, remains remarkably relevant. It's a cautionary tale about complacency and the importance of innovation. Thanks for joining us on Tech Bytes and News. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating history of Microsoft and its perceived demise. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today, we're diving into a truly remarkable story, a tale of beavers, bureaucracy, and breathtaking cost savings. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable is right. I saw the headline. Government planned it for 7 years. Beavers built the dam in 2 days and saved them $1 million. That's incredible efficiency. But what's the full story?
Exactly. It all started with a 7-year-long government project in the Czech Republic. They were planning to restore water areas in the BRDY Nature Park. Think permits, environmental impact studies, the whole shebang. A massive undertaking, right?
Oh yeah, government projects. I can only imagine the red tape involved. 7 years is a long time.
Tell me about it. But then, nature intervened. A colony of beavers, already residing in the park since 2020, decided to take matters into their own paws, so to speak. And in just 2 days, they constructed dams in precisely the locations the government had meticulously planned for years.
Wow. So the beavers essentially bypassed the entire bureaucratic process? That's unexpected.
Unexpected and incredibly efficient. The head of the Nature Reserve Administration said the beavers saved them 30 million Czech crowns. That's about $1.2 million USD. They built the dams for free, without any project documentation, and, without any complaints about budget overruns or delays.
This is amazing. It's a perfect example of how sometimes the simplest solutions are the most effective. But I wonder about the long-term implications. Will the beaver dams be as structurally sound as the planned ones?
That's a great point. The article doesn't go into the specifics of the long-term structural integrity. It focuses more on the immediate cost savings and the sheer speed of the beaver-led construction. It's certainly something to consider for future projects, though. Perhaps a more collaborative approach, incorporating natural solutions alongside human planning?
Absolutely. It highlights the potential benefits of integrating natural processes into infrastructure projects. Maybe we should start consulting with beavers before embarking on multi-million-dollar dam projects. Just imagine the press conferences.
Ha! I see. It's a fascinating case study in unexpected problem solving. It really makes you think about the efficiency of nature and the sometimes overly complex nature of human bureaucracy. This story is a great reminder that sometimes the best solutions are the ones we least expect.
Definitely. It's a story that's both amusing and thought-provoking. Thanks for sharing this incredible news.
My pleasure. And that's all the time we have for today's Tech Bites and News. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time with more fascinating stories from the world of technology and beyond. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the daily roundup of Tech Bytes and News. See you again tomorrow. Goodbye.